Welcome, everybody. I'm joined once again by Derek, and we are here to do some Star Trek CCG content. So, we're going to be making the top 10 cards in no particular order for each of the affiliations and kind of what they do, how they play, where they fit into the meta. Derek, I don't know anything about this, so I'm so glad I have an actual expert here to talk about it. But we put together kind of the title slides. You kind of want to walk us through what we're going to do today. I feel like I'm just going to learn a thing or two.
Yeah, so one of the cool things that you asked me to come on, Matt, was kind of starting a small series where we would go through, keep it a bit shorter than the couple of our other videos we've done together, which we've had a lot of fun. But
We can be
keep
long
them,
with it.
but keep these a little bit quicker and shorter, in referencing the top kind of 10 cards for each affiliation. Obviously, when we do this, we'll be considering Federation since it is the most popular affiliation amongst fans, because that's usually who we follow the stories with when you watch the shows. But two, there's just so many sub factions based off the various shows for Federation that they typically feel fear more in those kind of sub faction. But yeah, here we'll have a lot of opportunity to talk through some really good cards. Some of them, whether they're virtual or non-virtual, should really see a lot of times gameplay in current meta or even kitchen table games. Some really popular cards, and all through the various sets that were printed by Decipher, as well as sets that were virtual.
So let's get started. We're going to do this in under 15 minutes. That's going to be the tagline. Top 10 cards in 15 minutes. I'm going to keep you to it.
There we go.
Not in 10th place. This is just number 10, and we're counting down to number 1 because that's how my brain chose to order these slides. So that's just what we're doing here. So walk us through this, what we got here, Derek.
Yeah. So one of the things that, we could look into utilizing the Federation TNG is really when the Trek CC Continuing Committee group put together Continuing Mission, which really is a card utilized as a great play engine that turns all the TNG property logo cards, the property being, the property logo being the top of those cards that you'll see. Any of the personnel and ships gain this TNG, the little Starfleet beacon, communicator that they have on their breastplate that they wear. And so with this, obviously, would be the most, useful card. And this card here, the finest crew in the fleet, is great because it allows you to play USS Enterprise in lore cards, Federation affiliation TNG cards, for free per turn. It also lets you get a Federation flagship card download when you have a matching commander on your USS Enterprise. It's a really great play engine powered from Continuing Mission, where you're getting the card draw per turn. And it really gets you, again, anytime you can play cards for free, especially personnel, is huge in current gameplay.
I mean, that's always a rule. If you can get cards out free, it's always great. All right, let's move on to our second layer, or number 9, as I erroneously named it.
As we do a countdown. So, as I mentioned, one of the things you can do with, kind of teaming up with finest crew in the fleet, you get the Federation flagship renewed, which by playing this event card on your USS Enterprise, when you have its matching commander aboard and you're at a space mission, you draw an additional card. So just like we were saying, hey, anytime you can play cards for free and draw more cards. But I kept this one separate, even though it is something that you, like I said, kind of pair up easily with the finest crew in the fleet. It's a good enough card that even by itself, because you don't have to have just the TNG logo on it, but it's really great, as I mentioned, because you can par it by simply downloading it from finest crew in the fleet.
Number 3 on our list. I muted myself, couldn't find the unmute.
There you go. So this one's probably going to find itself on many of the Federation sub faction, just because it's so good. But this one is really good. Is Office of the President. It's the headquarters for the Federation. So you actually have to play it on Earth. There's 2 different Earths. For the different prints, because they have espionage mission, which is pretty much the a Federation homeworld, and then there's another version which is for Starfleet, but this is the one you're going to want to pair it with. And Office of the President is great because, again, you get to play a Federation ambassador, admiral, vice admiral, or president for free per turn to the facility here. But the TNG ambassadors, admiral, vice admirals, and presidents quantity is just so vast compared to many of the other sub Federation affiliations. So this one's where it really shines, is through a TNG deck.
So I just want to add as well that for people look at this stuff and they're like, virtual cards, this stuff is all print and play. That's what's great about virtual cards, is it takes the barrier to entry way down. I will leave a link in that view more and are the show notes here so you guys can print out stuff to your heart's desire.
Yes, and Office of the President and Espionage Mission are actual decipher cards too. So
that's a good note.
All right, so
everybody's favorite.
Yes, everybody's favorite, the OG, right? As iconic as the Darth Vader for premiere is Star Wars, the Jean-Luc Picard premiere is for Star Trek CCG, right? Anytime, any fan or person thought coming through books and all that stuff. There's a lot of different variations of Jean-Luc Picard, even a couple of different versions for some of the sub-faction versions for the affiliation that come in later sets. But there's some other versions for quote unquote TNG, the next generation, that have the property logo. And those could all find into your deck if you prefer, right? This one I just put in here because it's literally a stat monster. The fact that you get 6 red dots, you get diplomacy ×2, the integrity of 9, cunning of 8, and even old man Jean-Luc Picard has a strength of 6. This is a phenomenal card that anyone who really wants to play, again, virtual or non-virtual, you're going to make a TNG affiliation or Federation deck, you're going to be playing Jean-Luc Picard.
Added bonus if you get him in foil. I own one in foil. It looks great. Love it.
All right. So here is a mixture of Admiral Riker, which had a couple of different prints, right? There's the version that was the Dominion preview, white border. There was the version that came from Reflections, which was a box topper. And then there's the actual version that came out in All Good Things. Most people probably won't play with the All Good Things version, but as you mentioned, you can print it off as well. Again, this is a great card. He's a stat monster. But the fact is that your leaders here may initiate battle against the the Klingon, which in Federation terms is pretty good, because the only affiliation that the Federation can actually battle is Borg. So anytime you're able to battle somebody is really good. Plus, this lets you download literally any Enterprise if you're aboard your matching facility. If you look at the original version, this is the, you can download the any types of enterprises, like I said, the USS Enterprise or the future Enterprises, which is he's the one's actual matching commander for the nice future Enterprise everyone sought after from the AU expansion, along with the Reflections ultra rare foil, right? But it's really cool when you combine him with the Starbase 247 outpost. Which, one thing to note, based off finest crew in the fleet, you can do the free report to the USS Enterprise or to a Federation outpost. You can't actually put them to other quote unquote Federation facilities that don't have the outpost. So this is a really good card to have as your initial seed outpost, because you then get Admiral Riker pretty easily, along with seeds at any, you like to help, which allows, when Admiral Riker is at the Starbase, allows you to play one ship for free in the entire game per matching commander, which is 2 of them. You can get Fleet Admiral Shanti, I think is how you say her name. But she's the second one. That's TNG as well. But this outpost comboed with Admiral Riker is really good.
Let's keep it moving here. So this is going to be number 5. Yeah. So I have the right number on this one.
So some people are going to be like, oh my goodness, we put Deanna Troi in there. So everyone wants to pick on Deanna Troi. She's, the memes and everything they do. Obviously, she's part of the reason that, she's blown up the USS Enterprise. And there's some really different versions that can, be very, very useful. Again, anytime that you're using finest crew in the fleet and you get that USS Enterprise in lore, and lets you play for free, right? So that's always a good thing. But this one is really good because of her special skill that she has there. So she obviously has to be at a Cardassian mission. But the fact that once per game you may unstop her ship that she's aboard, that is huge. That gives you basically the ability, when you unstop the ship, you get to basically kind of reset your personnel and you can fly away, or you can reattempt or whatever you need to do. So she's really good because, again, you might hit a dilemma and it stops you, or your opponent comes and attacks you and it stops you and you need to get out of there. So then you can just go ahead, unstop your ship, and you retreat, or like I said, reattempt of whatever you need to do. So she's really good when you're looking at that simple skill that she's doing. Again, you got to be at a Cardassian related mission, because you have to actually have the Federation affiliation icon to attempt it. So there's, but there's a pretty good amount of Alpha Quadrant missions that have both those affiliation icons on their missions to be able to attach. So Edward Jellicoe, another great card. And so, again, these are actually some newer ones between Deanna Troi and this Edward Jellicoe. Obviously, he's a really good stat monster when he's at a Cardassian mission, but to get it done, we don't have it here listed, but Get It Done is a phenomenal card. It's a card that you could actually play outside of any major affiliation related to TNG set, the continuing mission icon sets, but having Get It Done, the ability just to be able to get it into play pretty quickly is awesome. And not realizing too that when you have that leadership, additional leadership that you get for the Cardassian affiliation on your mission from the icon there, you've got a personnel with 2 leadership, and that's always huge. So Diplomatic Intervention. So this is a really fun card for affiliation. Again, specifically around TNG, just because there are so many TNG Federation ambassadors. But this is a really fun dilemma. So one, when you play this card against your opponent and your opponent encounters it, you get to literally download, and for free in a sense, because it downloads to the planet, 2 TNG ambassador personnel. And there's some really good ones, including, which a lot of folks might be, familiar with, is the Mr. Spock, or Spock, I should just say, that was part of the 2-player premiere. That was the white border. It's got the Spock doing the Live Long and Prosper. He's got his robes, his first, showcase when he actually guest stars on a TNG. The first time he guest stars on a TNG episode. So Spock is a phenomenal card. So the fact, again, you can get him into play along with another ambassador. You can get his father, Sarek, which you could see him facing Jean-Luc Picard. So just getting that, some of the other ambassadors, you can get Luxana Troi, who's, an empath. All sorts of really good skills that you get. But the idea is you can do this and you can kind of lock out your mission, because they have to have more diplomacy here than what you have listed for your ambassadors, which is really good. And the nice thing too is they're protected, so they can't be battled the turn that you download them. So you only get 2 turns essentially when this card is flipped, before that, with the little icon there, the 2, before it goes away. But the simple fact is that you get 2 free personnel down. You basically almost stop the planet mission attempt, because you can get some really high diplomacy personnel out with those 2 ambassadors from TNG, especially TNG Federation. But then, like I said, you can then next turn go pick them up, and you've got 2 more additional cards that you played, not even your turn.
All right, we got 2 cards left, and we're 13 minutes in. I think we can do this.
We're doing this. So, so obviously, for any type of TNG Federation, you got to have the USS Enterprise. So this is going to be the one. There's obviously the premiere version, which is very iconic, right? This one's a virtual one, but the reason I picked this one is because it's downloads wall of ships. So you'll see that the attributes on it are a little less than the original USS Enterprise, but the fact that you can download wall of ships and it affects all of your ships, and basically makes this then the same skill set attribute wise for your ship, makes it more powerful, in my opinion. Obviously somebody can, do a counter and cancel that event, but then they're pretty much sacrificing 5 points if you're running oof as a, part of your referee, counter. So otherwise, I think this is the better USS Enterprise, and it's pretty cool too, the way they have the image where it's popping out with the bit of the disc from the actual top of the USS Enterprise.
I look at a lot of cards, Derek, and this is one of the cooler cards I've seen. I've seen many cards. this is pretty cool. All right, in our number 1 or the 10th card, my favorite card that I think is one of my favorite cards that I own.
Yes.
Yeah.
So yeah, as you mentioned, right, this is an actual printed Decipher card. And again, what would it be? And some people are going to be like, oh, that's Star Trek Generations. That's not got a TNG logo. Well, technically it does for this purpose of gameplay, because as I mentioned, continuing mission allows TNG as well as Generations, because they're kind of lumped together if you think thematically in regards to kind of where it picks off before First Contact, where the actual Decipher printed set comes in for the expansion. But obviously, James T. Kirk, I mean, anyone familiar with the game knows that this guy's just a beast, right? He's got awesome skills, awesome attributes, downloads any captain's order, which is a plethora of cards, and then scores 5 points each time he helps solve a mission. I mean, basically, he's his own mission specialist without just having one skill. So, again, anyone who's doing TNG themed Federation is going to include James T. Kirk.
Awesome card. I wish I had more than one of them.
Well, again, you could print them, right? So
I can. Yeah, that's a very good point. You can print these, and no one's going to tell you what to do when you're playing in your house. All right. Well, Derek, thanks so much for taking us through this list. We didn't quite hit 15 minutes, but we were very close. Please leave your comments, thoughts, all that sort of stuff. We're going to do some more sort of deck videos and card videos on Star Trek to try to get a little more of a pipeline of ideas for people looking to play this game. So thanks for hanging out, everybody, and we'll catch you next time.